In 1997, the World Health Organization warned against the current problem of increasing obesity in the population. It has been discussed as an epidemic with serious consequences, being blamed for 17 million premature deaths worldwide each year.
Our main problem is that our lifestyle has fundamentally changed. Genetically, we have stayed the same. However, our civilization has changed radically in the last 100 years. People no longer go to the fields to get their potatoes, for example. Instead, they buy them in a supermarket. We do not move anymore in order to obtain food.
The situation in the Czech Republic isn't any better. Half of the Czech adult population is overweight or suffers from obesity, which consequently causes many diseases, which are leading causes of death according to statistics. The problem of obesity does not spare the youngest generation. In the last 20 years, the number of overweight children in the Czech population has increased by 100%. Research suggests that up to 1/3 of our primary and early secondary school children suffer from being overweight. So what are the causes of being overweight and obese? I would say the main cause lies in the fact that children get very little exercise and that they do not get a lot of natural opportunity to move. Indeed, they are somehow forced to be static. In terms of their diet, they have a far better choice of food that was common 20 or 30 years ago. Groceries like fruit or vegetables may not be as special for them as they were for our parents.
Obesity and its metabolic consequences lead to diseases which we would associate with our grandparents, but which now appear in young children and adolescents. These diseases include diabetes, high blood pressure, and even hypercholesterolemia, which in turn leads to cardiovascular diseases. All of these diseases that even adolescents are nowadays treated for.
Let's face it, we as adults are responsible for our children's future lifestyles. At the same time, however, we tend to create a system and environment which are harmful for them. We give in to our children's wishes and we do not strengthen their will. We are not consistent when it comes to a healthy diet or sports. This affects even the youngest children.
Childhood obesity can appear as early as the age of 3. 40% of children at our obesity clinic have been obese since the age of 3, and another 40% since the age of 6. Only 10% were first diagnosed with obesity when they were 9 years old, and only the remaining 10% at the age of 13. This shows that childhood obesity is not a problem at school age, but at preschool age.
Children nowadays live in an increasingly less natural environment. They spend less time outside and lose touch with the natural world. They travel by cars and buses, use lifts and escalators, and spend the whole day sitting down at school. At home, they spend their time in front of the television or a computer, consumed by a virtual reality. This leads us to the influence of media and advertising, encouraging consumption of inappropriate food and drinks, which are often easily accessible to children in shops and vending machines. If we do not change things, today's generation of young people will be the first one in modern history to live a shorter and less healthy life than their parents. Are we able to halt this trend? Yes, we are, but only provided that there is a good prevention program in place. Such a program, though, should start as early as preschool. This is the reason why the Healthy ABC program was started in 2008.
The Healthy ABC program is aimed at preventing children from becoming overweight and obese. Its main objective is for adults to gradually pass over to children some responsibility in making decisions about their exercise and diet.
The Healthy ABC program aims to result in children who are ready to take decisions in a variety of life situations. Such a child should be able to choose their healthy food, their physical activities, or ways to purposefully spend their free time. They should also be able to participate in creating the environment around them. The Healthy ABC program aims to dispel some of the misconceptions and cliches in the minds of teachers, parents, and the public about what constitutes a healthy lifestyle for children. Most of us adults fail to realize how small the causes which may trigger problems with lifelong consequences actually are. Our current lifestyle is largely passive in terms of exercise and movement. We tend to live a life of tension and stress, which may be compensated by visiting the fridge, for example. These patterns are then passed on to our children, making us a bad role model for them. Children tend to develop bad eating habits, and thanks to us, they get a small or inadequate amount of exercise. Exercise is extremely important for every child, mainly in terms of growth and the development and structure of bones, muscles, and internal organs. It is equally important in terms of mental development, as it is, in fact, enables the children to explore their surroundings. In this sense, I believe there's a lot of room for improvement in preschools. When I ask teachers at our seminars how many hours a day children at their preschool spend outside, the amount usually comes to about an hour and a half, which is a very small part of the whole day. The Healthy ABC program encourages more physical activity, mainly natural and spontaneous in nature. In this program, children learn that every moment spent sitting needs to be balanced out with physical activity. The truth is that even preschool children need to be engaged in intensive physical activity in order to develop well and to be healthy.
Children need to take part in physical activities where they are out of breath and perspiring about twice or 3 times a week for about 20 minutes. The aim is not only to build children's physical condition. Proper perfusion resulting from an increase in physical activity is vital for the development of tissue and the storage of calcium in teeth and bones.
The exercise pyramid serves both children and teachers as a visual aid.
Here we have examples of basic activities which we need to take part in most frequently, less frequently, at regular intervals, but perhaps not every day, and things we do just from time to time. However, it is not the case that each level of the pyramid on its own results in a good level of health. Health comes with an overall balance of activity and harmony.
Using the exercise pyramid, children learn to understand why they should engage in different physical activities at different levels of intensity. They also learn why, for instance, an increased intake of food rich in calories needs to be balanced out with adequate exercise. With frequent repetition, it becomes a habit. Children get used to it. They like it and ask, for example, when will we go to the gym again? So it really is a matter of creating the opportunity, the possibility, and then the children try it out for themselves and enjoy it. Let's teach children not only about food, but about healthy eating in general. There is another healthy ABC aid that serves both children and teachers as a guide, the Healthy Eating Pyramid.
It's a very simple diagram, which is surprisingly based on scientific research. Most people consider an apple, for instance, or all fruit and vegetables as healthy. This comes up whenever we talk about a healthy lifestyle. There is a myth in the population that these things should be the basis of our diet. This is not true. Instead, the entire healthy eating pyramid should be the base of our diet.
Using the pyramid, children learn to understand different kinds of food and the amount appropriate for a healthy lifestyle. They learn to prepare their snacks or simple meals. They learn to decide the size of the portion they can eat, and then they take part in planning the menu in the preschool or at home. Merrick, does your mommy put ketchup on your bread? Children learn to understand the eating pyramid through games. Then they can make decisions about what they should eat, how often, and how it should be prepared. Okay, we're not cooking potatoes now. We're going to eat them later. Children also learn that plain water and other sugar-free drinks should be the basis for our daily intake of liquid. Rather than eating the usual sweets, children in the Healthy ABC preschools are encouraged to eat sugar-free snacks with the option of flavoring them to their taste. The problem is that parents may not eat regularly themselves, they may not drink sufficiently, and they may not get enough exercise. As a result, the children may lack a good model. Many parents certainly are a bad model for their children in this respect. They prefer passive pastimes. They do not pressure their children to engage in strenuous physical activity and are too fearful of injury. But let us not put all the blame on parents. Besides the family, the preschool is another crucial institution which shapes our children's health habits and where children spend a considerable part of their day. Some preschools provide children with very good conditions for exercise. But at some, preschool teachers tend to overly protect their children. They are afraid to do certain things, certain sports, and so they limit their children's activity. Preschool children, however, need opportunities for physical activity, especially spontaneous ones. When children have adequate space and stimulating conditions, they tend to move about intensively. They change activities, and the intensity of their activity is high. Unfortunately, when they leave preschool to go to school, they engage in more passive activities.
The change from preschool to primary school brings about a true revolution for the children in their daily routine. Previously, their parents or teachers set the times for breakfast, snack, or a walk, and suddenly there's none of this at primary school. The fact that the children were used to taking whatever they were given and to having things readily available to them. They take what is there for them, such as the TV remote control or whatever has been displayed in the supermarket right in front of their eyes.
To znamená ovladač televize, anebo něco, co jim v supermarketu vystaví přímo před oči.
The change of environment that children experience when they move up to primary school may affect them in terms of their lifestyle because they are simply not ready for it. They must be able to decide for themselves in basic situations related to their diet, exercise, mental well-being, and in terms of the choice of environment in which they spend their time. Can preschool children actually manage all this? Here we will have to tear down yet another final myth. The excessively protective parents and teachers' attitude, as well as the attitude of some other institutions, often do not allow children to experiment and take decisions in real-life situations that bear any possible consequences. However, in order to learn, children need plenty of opportunities.
The preschool as an institution is not ready to give children a real freedom to make their own decisions. The problem is that such freedom brings about an element of risk, that the decision will not be a good one. I think that when dealing with school and preschool children, we have not learnt to work with an error as an opportunity. We simply try to eliminate it.
Preschool is exactly the right age for children to learn to make their own decisions. The skills and habits that they do not acquire before the age of 6 will never be acquired. At the primary school, where they are basically left to their own devices, they should already possess these skills. If preschools just go on providing a healthy environment without making children actively involved in the process of creating this environment, they will not serve as educational institutions but will remain at the level of a caring institution. We have one day of the week dedicated to sports and exercise, one day of the week dedicated to cooking, when children are involved in the preparation of snacks. We want them to understand and to perhaps participate in the creation of the menu, while we are just the guides who direct them towards taking part in making decisions. We are not opposed to the idea of children climbing trees, for example. We have a rule that a child who can climb a tree without assistance is allowed to climb a tree because experience shows that whoever climbs a tree without help will not fall off of it. We also have a rule that preschool children can use a sharp knife in the kitchen. We teach children to use a sharp knife. We have been around for 6 years, and for the whole time, we haven't had a single injury. We are not afraid to delegate responsibility to children, which I think is the most important thing. Let us remember that children do not learn from what we tell them. They learn from what we do, and from what we do with them. If we want them to be well prepared and able to to an extent, independently make their own way in the world, we need to accompany them and let them explore and make mistakes. This is also a way to stop the growing numbers of little consumers, future diabetics, cardiac patients, and clients of obesity clinics. Let us not leave the whole problem to preschools or parents. The whole society, all of us, contribute to the fact that our children grow up in an environment which encourages obesity and shortens our children's lives.